Hello, this is Catherine Dubberly, the Answer Lady. I'm a big fan of Kiss Looms. I greatly enjoy mine, and I am cooperating with Kelly at Kiss Looms to make you a playlist of all the basic techniques that you might ever want to know on all of the looms. So welcome and enjoy.
Quite a few people who loom knit also hand knit, and sometimes those who do feel that it would be nice to be able to make the ribbing by hand. They're comfortable with their ribbing, and then do the rest of the project on the loom, and you can do that. So let's see how. I have hand knitted the ribbing here, and I'm going to now transfer it to a circular needle. That's just because my circular needle is easier to manipulate when trying to get the stitches onto the loom. It is not an essential step, and I did the last one of these without a circular needle. But it's very, very easy to transfer the stitches over to one if you have one, and life will be easier as we hang them on the loom having done this. The reason that it is easier to work with this as we hang on the loom is mostly that these pieces, the actual needles on the circular, are shorter. Also, there's no need to use the original size of needle, just something to hold the stitch will be fine. So let's get these all onto my circular needle, and then we'll get them onto the loom. One nice thing about a circular needle is you can push the stitches onto this flexible part, and then they really can't escape. So I'll do that for the parts where I'm jockeying into position. Now I'm really only going to use 30 pegs on the loom, but there's no reason, since this is a kiss loom, that I can't make myself a little bit of extra room for the first part of it. Let me tighten this down so it doesn't flop on me. And I happen to know that I'm going to use 8 pegs along this side, 8 along this side, and then these 7, 4, 5, 6, 7 on each end is 14, plus 8 on each side is 16, so 16 plus 14 is going to give me my 30. There's a stitch. There's a stitch. Off of the tip and onto the loom. Make sure they don't get twisted, that they're all sitting the correct way. Something here just happened that may happen to you. I dropped a stitch. Not really dropped the whole stitch, but one row unraveled. When that happens, I just try to adjust myself so it doesn't happen anymore. Go ahead and hang what I've got and re-knit it later on. I'm working around the camera as usual, which I'm pretty accustomed to for normal knitting. I'm not accustomed to doing it for this process, and this is a little bit challenging. There we go. Now I'm going to turn it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I did get the correct number on. Off of the tip, onto the loom. Almost I caught the stitch on the pin, and you know you don't want to do that. That's going to create nothing but trouble. So always watch and free any loops that should try to get caught on the pin. So I'm going to go ahead all the way around and do this, and I'm going to join you again at the last few stitches so you can see the end finishing up. As you see, this is somewhat challenging, but it's probably going to take me 5 minutes. This is a mitten, 30 stitches. And just think about whether you would have spent 5 more minutes doing purl stitches on the loom. Purl stitches are not as efficient for most of us as knit stitches, and I've heard lots of people complain about them. I've done a little complaining about them myself, though I'm much better than I used to be at it. If you think that you would enjoy knitting it more by hand, and that you would make up your 5 minutes, go ahead and try this. I'm back. I've got everything on except these last 7. Let's double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I have 7 pegs. And now it's getting pretty easy because I can turn the fabric to fit comfortably. This one just popped off. Very naughty, but back you go. Let's tuck the needle in here so as to be able to adjust our loom. Slide this up to the right position. As I'm sure you know, the pegs should make a row across here. That looks about right, and I can adjust it some more once I get my knitting needle out of the way if need be. That's the initial yarn tail popping up. I'm going to tuck it out of the way. And this is the working yarn. I'm going to make sure that it's in the correct position, not trapped under the needles. And now we'll just keep going. Hanging stitches. 1 stitch. Don't let it hang up on the peg. 2, 3. Towards the end it gets suddenly much easier because you don't have to manipulate so much knitting. And here we come to our last stitch. Now the only thing left is that before I knit, I want to take a look around and fix any problems that occurred. So we're looking in at the pegs, making sure that nothing's caught on them. And nothing is on this side, except there's a split stitch that I'm going to fix. This is bamboo and yew yarn, and it's very easy to split. There we go, all fixed. Now that was a knit stitch. This is a purl stitch. And this strand is going to catch on the peg unless I lift it up. That looks as though I actually have 2 rows there to knit. Knit that one, lift my final loose strand and make sure it comes around each of the other pegs that it should be going around. Pins, I said pegs when I meant pins, and knit it over. Looks okay there. I don't see anything caught or anything unknitted. I believe those were my only mistakes. The yarn tail, the initial one, I just pulled down and out of the way. There was the last stitch actually made while on my knitting needles. So I'm ready to just start knitting around in the normal way that we do in the kiss with the U-stitch.